Well, thank you very much, North Carolina. You are a special group of people. In fact, my beautiful little grandchild, the most beautiful little girl you've ever seen, is named Carolina. Do you know that? I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. But I'd like to ask you one very simple, easy to answer question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? I think so. I'm here today with a message of hope for all Americans with your vote in this election. Oh, it's coming up so nice. We're down to 6 days, maybe sort of 5. Maybe 5 the way you count it. 6 days, can you imagine? I will end inflation. I will stop the massive invasion of criminals into our country. And I will bring back a thing called the American dream. Isn't that nice? Because we haven't had that. We haven't had that in a long time. Our country will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than ever before. And this election is a choice between whether we'll have 4 more years, think of this, 4 more years of gross incompetence, the most corrupt, horrible people. These are horrible people. Oops, we should get along with everybody. They're horrible people. You know, some people you just can't get along with. You can't. But whether we're going to have 4 years of incompetence and failure, or whether we'll begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country, that's what's going to happen. And I'm asking you to be excited about the future again. You have to be excited about it. We have a great potential. If we have to go another 2 days beyond that term, we're not going to have a great... We have to get this done now because we're not going to have a second chance. There'll never be a second chance. It's too far gone. We're really, we are a failing nation. We are a nation in decline. But don't worry. We will not be a nation in decline for too much longer, I'll tell you. We'll be a nation of incline as opposed to decline. But I'm asking you to dream big again. You're going to have to dream big again. It's going to be hard for you to do that because you've gone through a long period. But we had some great 4 years. This will be America's new golden age. This will be better than what we had even 4 years ago. Remember, we were energy independent. We had everything. Every problem facing us can be solved, but now the fate of our nation is in your hands. And this is a very important state. Number one, I love the state. Number two, we've always won. I won the primaries and I won the elections, and I didn't have to worry about it. So, if you think 2016, we did great. 2020, we did much better, actually. They say, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. We only got about, 12 million more votes, right? But this is the best of all. This is more enthusiasm than there was for even 2016 or 2020. This is the best. Nobody's ever seen it. I just saw General Kellogg, wherever he may be backstage. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Look at that general. He's a real general, not like Millie. Not like Billy. Not like Kelly, low. He's a low IQ guy. But this is a real general. He's great. But he said backstage, this reminds me, sir, of 2016. I said, thank you very much. That's a good reminder, isn't it? He's a great guy. This Tuesday, you have to stand up and you have to tell Kamala that you've had enough, that you're not going to take it anymore. Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here, Kamala. The hell out of here. The worst vice president, the worst border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border in the history of the world that allowed criminals to pour through. 21 million people, think of it. Well, we're running a campaign of solutions to save America. an America which they have virtually destroyed during their almost 4-year period of rule. Kamala Harris, a low IQ individual, is running a campaign of hate, anger, and retribution. See, I'm very nice to them. They're not nice to us. She spends all of her time complaining about everything, but does nothing about it. She's going to do this, she's going to do that. Why the hell didn't she do it, right? So now she's talking about what she's going to do on the border. Well, I'm going to do this and that, and this and that. All they had to do was leave the border alone. We had the safest border in the history of our country. In fact, to prove it, put up my chart, the favorite chart. I love that chart. I love that chart. That was the day I left office. We had the lowest number ever. The day I left office was where the red arrow is on the bottom. And then it became like an Elon Musk rocket ship, right? Look at that. Look what happens to it. Right after that, it went to hell. They let it go to hell. We had remain in Mexico. You couldn't come into our country. You had to remain. You think that was easy to get from Mexico? I had to be very threatening. I always said, you're not going to do it? No, sir, we're not. Why would we do that? I said, because if you don't do it, I'm going to put a 100% tariff on your cars coming in. Sir, took me about 1 minute. They went from, we will absolutely not do that, sir. Why would we do a thing like that? Remain in Mexico. They have to remain in your car. I said, no. I tell you why. You know why? They went from that to saying, sir, we would be delighted to do whatever you'd like, whatever you. Now I said, we're going to put a 100% tariff on your cars if you don't do it. So they said, we'd love to have our people we would love to have MS-13 gang members, criminals, people from mental institutions stay in our country. It would be our great honor, sir. It was really amazing. It took less than a minute. Or what she's going to do about inflation. I'm going to do things about it. She caused the inflation by screwing up my energy policies. She caused the inflation and spending way too much money on the Green New scam. She caused it. But why didn't she do something about it, right? Or what she's going to do to get the economy going. We're going to do this and that. Oh, by the way, her plans are the plans of a simpleton. They're not going to work. We'll be in a depression like 1929. What we're going to do to get the economy. But why didn't she do it? Why didn't she do all these things? She's saying, we're going to do this. She's trying to disassociate herself from Sleepy Joe Biden. I like this audience. Scream. I didn't say it. Well, the guys, who just said that? He can handle himself. They scream, she's an idiot. But I didn't say it. I didn't say it. In fact, I'd like to admonish you, sir, you should not say that, please. This way, the press can't get me. You know, they say, well, I know he wanted. It's really good. Well, no, I don't accept that. So. I would never accept a thing like that. No, but she is. He can handle himself, that guy, too. She and Crooked Joe head up the worst administration in the history of our country. They've made Jimmy Carter look like a truly great president. In all fairness to Jimmy, he didn't let 21 million people, many of them criminals and those that are mentally ill, pour into our country. He didn't Jimmy Carter didn't allow that to happen. Last night, Kamala made a speech, not much of one, with a paid-for audience, and all she talked about was Donald Trump.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I will speak about Donald Trump. Donald Trump, 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 Donald
Do you believe it? Because she and Joe have no achievements, only failure and gloom. See, that was so perfect. It worked out perfectly. I said, how am I going to say? Normally you'd stop and you'd say, please take a look at the video. But I have some very talented people. I say, when I say Donald Trump, you just let that go. They did a good job. And then I finished the sentence, because they have no achievements, because they're a disaster. She suffers from a very serious disease known as Trump derangement syndrome. Trump derangement syndrome. TDS, sometimes referred to as TDS, it's quite serious. It's inflicted havoc on some lives. But many Democrats suffer from that disease, and it's only because of one reason, because we're winning. This week, Kamala has been comparing her political opponents to the most evil mass murderers in history. And now, speaking on a call for her campaign last night, Joe Biden finally said what he and Kamala really think of our supporters. He called them garbage. And they mean it, even though, without question, my supporters are far higher quality than Crooked Joe or Lying Kamala. My response to Joe and Kamala is very simple. You can't lead America if you don't love Americans. You just can't. And you can't be president if you hate the American people. And there's a lot of hatred there. Kamala Harris is not fit to be president of the United States. She doesn't have the intellect, the stamina, or that special quality that real leaders must have to lead. We know what that is. It's a special quality. Joe Biden's comments were the direct result of Kamala's and Tim Walz, you know? You know who that is? His decision to portray everyone who isn't voting for them as evil or subhuman. You're not subhuman. I'm looking at you. You are not subhuman. And we know it's what they believe, because look how they've treated you. They've treated you like garbage, frankly. They've treated you like garbage. You know what? The truth is, they've treated our whole country like garbage, whether they meant to or not, because they're grossly incompetent people, and they've destroyed our country. Our country is suffering right now like it's never suffered, with inflation. And with the infliction, think of it, they've allowed millions and millions of people to come into our country that are criminals, that are the highest level criminals. 13,099 Border Patrol, which endorsed me, by the way, very strongly. And it wasn't like I had any competition. 13,099 murderers, many of them murdered more than one person. 13,000, these are the numbers from Border Patrol during their term. 13,099 murders were let into our country. You have drug lords, you have terrorists, you have people from mental institutions. They're all let into our country. And I actually feel it's number 2 or number 3 on the list of things. Number 1 is the economy. Number 2 is inflation. Number 3 is what they've done to our border, what they've done to our country. They call it immigration. It's not immigration. It's horrible. It's horrible. And I think that it's, frankly, should be number 1 on the list. I think inflation's terrible. What they've done with inflation is gross incompetence. But when they allow 21 million people, and it's probably much more, that doesn't even include the gotaways, you know, gotaways. These are people that just run across the border. What they've done to our country is there's never going to be an excuse for what they've done to this country. For the past 9 years, Kamala and her party have called us racist, bigots, fascists, deplorables, irredeemables, Nazis, and they've called me Hitler. Call me Hitler. You know, many years ago, I had a father who was a great guy. He was a strong guy, a legitimate guy, strong. But you know, he always used to tell me, never use the word Nazi and never use the word Hitler. Now we're called Nazis, and I'm called Hitler. I'm not Hitler. Boy, my father, he's looking down. Well, my mother, I know she's looking down. My father is a little questionable because he was a little rough. I think he's looking down because he was a good guy. He was a strong guy, but he was a good guy. But he's looking down. He said, can you imagine? That's what they're calling my son. I told them for years, literally, never use the term Nazi or Hitler. Now they're using it on us. It's unbelievable. They've bullied you. They've demeaned us. They've demonized us and censored us and deplatformed us and weaponized the power of our own government against us. They've gone after their political opponent, me. It's unbelievable. Did you see? Donald Trump wants to put us in jail. Donald Trump is going to go after some of the scum that you see back there, that's so dishonest. Donald Trump is doing horrible things. He wants to put us in prison. That's what they've been trying to do to me for 3 years. They got the story mixed up. And we won the big case in Florida already. We're doing very well. We're doing very well. Remember? Oh, we got him in Florida. That was the documents case, and I had the Presidential Records Act and lots of other things. But Joe Biden had the same case except times 10. Because he took it out when he wasn't president. He did a lot of things. And they found him guilty, but they let him go because he was mentally incompetent. But they said he could be president. So they said, he can't stand trial. He's mentally incompetent. He's got no memory. And he's just got it. He just doesn't have what it takes, okay? But think of this. Here's the ruling. He can't stand trial because he's mentally incompetent, but he can be the president of the United States. Figure that one out. Mr. Congressman, figure that one out, Hudson. Can you imagine? They have taken your money. They've thrown open your borders to criminals and terrorists. They've flooded your towns with deadly drugs and death. They've given you jobs to illegal migrants and sent our blood and treasure to fight really stupid foreign wars, countries that you've never heard of, countries that you and your children have never even heard of. This Tuesday is your chance to stand up and declare that you are not going to take it anymore. You're not going to take it. 6 days from now, we can turn the page forever on this failed and corrupt administration. They are corrupt. They are failed and they're corrupt. They're the worst administration. Joe Biden is the worst president in the history of our country. And his partner, now she's trying to convince everyone, oh, well, I really had nothing to do with anything, you know. I'm sure he loves hearing that. She is the worst vice president in the history of our country. By the way, if you go back a few months, everybody was saying she's the worst vice president. She's incompetent. She's a dope. She's everything you can imagine. All of a sudden, they decided they better get politically correct, okay? And they chose her over 12 people that are far more competent. We can declare once and for all that we are done with their hatred. We are done with their hysteria. We are done with their hoaxing, lying, cheating, scheming, plundering, and stealing. And we're not going to let them divide and destroy America any longer. And that goes for Barack Hussein Obama, too. He's a divider. He's a divider. And Michelle, oh, she said bad things about me. Ooh. Michelle got out there the other day. Oh, I've been very nice to her. I guess that means I don't have to be nice anymore, right? Oh, I'm looking forward to this. No, Obama was a great divider. He was a great, great divider. What we have built is the biggest, broadest, most incredible coalition and the greatest political movement in American history, I think in any history, if you want to know the truth. It's made up of the hardworking men and women who make this country run, who make this country great. We've brought together veterans and union members, soldiers and steelworkers, farmers and auto workers, and patriotic moms and dads of every race, religion, color, and creed, right? We're welcoming historic numbers of African Americans and Hispanic Americans and Asian Americans and Arab Americans. And we're uniting Christians and Jews and Catholics and evangelicals and Muslims and Mormons and everyone who simply wants one thing. They want one thing: to make America great again. That's all they want. Our campaign has been endorsed by the 400,000 members of the Fraternal Order of Police. And I don't believe there's a police organization in America that hasn't endorsed us. And I don't believe there's even a single policeman or policewoman, a cop. That's another thing. My father always used to say, never call them cops. That's disrespectful. I don't know. I think, look, I'm going with my father. So we're going to say policeman or policewoman. Never call them cops. That's disrespectful, son. I don't know. Makes sense? If my father said it, I do it. But think of that. I don't think a single policeman or policewoman has endorsed her. She was a leader of defund the police. That's hard to get an endorsement. Yes, I was in charge of defunding the police for 10 years. I'd love to have your endorsement. But then we had the Border Patrol agents who were so incredible. For 4 years, they haven't called her. She hasn't called. Think of this. 4 years. I said, has she ever called? Has Biden ever called? Sleepy Joe? No. I said, you don't mean no. You mean maybe they haven't called you, but have they called you? We had the top 10 leaders up. They gave me the best endorsement you've ever heard. And the worst statement about her, they said she's grossly incompetent. And then she's supposed to be running. I don't believe, they say it's like a close race. I can't believe it's a close race. Not that I just can't believe it. But I said, did she ever call you? No, sir. Never once. I said, you mean in almost 4 years? No, she never called, sir. Never once. Nobody. She never called anybody. She was in charge of the border, whether you call her borders or she doesn't want that name anymore because it was so bad. She did such a bad job. But she was in charge of the border. Think of this. And she never called Border Patrol one time in 4 years. By the rank and file membership of the Teamsters who endorsed us, I will tell you the Teamsters, we got 62% or something. And I got the endorsement. Oh, what a beautiful endorsement, because I love brilliant people. We don't have too many of them. We have to protect our brilliant people. There aren't too many of them. There aren't too many of them, period. But a certain guy that took a rocket that's 22 stories tall and came back down, and those thrusters went off, and I said, oh no, it's going to crash into the gantry, it's going to crash, it's going to be terrible. But it didn't. It came down, and it was just about ready, and then the fire blew out of the bottom on the left side, and it moved it over, and then it came here, and it came down, and those two big arms grabbed it, like you grab your baby. Like you grab your baby, right? Elon Musk gave us a great endorsement. And Oh, just spotted somebody. I didn't know he was going to be there. Is that who I think it is? My eyes are what they. You stand up, please, would you? Huh? Yes. How are you? Huh? And look at these two. Look at these two. These two ladies have been with us, and this guy has been by their side right from the beginning. In fact, they take the place oftentimes of some of our front row Joes. So very successful people. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. But Elon gave us an endorsement that was beautiful. He said, it's the most important election we've ever had. If Trump doesn't win, and he doesn't, he wants to he's a very straight shooter. If Trump doesn't win, he said, we don't have a country anymore. We're not going to have a country. And that was amazing, actually. And you know where he is right now? He's campaigning for me in Pennsylvania. Can you imagine? And, he told me something very interesting. He said, for an election to be really on the up and up, you have to use paper ballots. He said that to me. Now, here's a guy who I would say is the all-time genius at computers. He was telling me that when you see those rockets firing, he said the computers are more important than the engines. I understand. He knows more about computers than anybody I've ever met, and I know some pretty smart people. I had an uncle that was at MIT, a professor for 41 years, the longest-serving professor ever. I have that. It's something in my blood about that. Elon knows more about computers than anybody there is. Every time you see those rocket ships land, like in the ocean on a raft with a circle, boom, it's like unbelievable, right? And he said, for purposes of voting, because there's never a computer that's not easily cracked, easily if you're a genius, more difficult if you're less than a genius. But he said the best way to have an election is very simple. Paper ballots, voter ID, proof of citizenship, same-day voting. And he said same-day voting. And there's a guy who's the number one computer guy. You would think, it's interesting. Paper ballots would cost 8% of what you have. Now I'm hearing all sorts of stories. We're not going to have the result by Tuesday night. We spend all this money on computers. If you go back to paper ballots, and it's watermarked. Paper is now very sophisticated, believe it or not. It's all watermarked. You can't play around with it. They can check it immediately. It's all, identified. But paper ballots, so think of it. 8%. It would cost 8% of what the machines cost. Now, they hate when I talk about this, but I just want to see one thing. I don't care whether it's machines or whatever's going to be the best, but if paper's the best, paper, one-day voting. You know why? Because we don't want the air conditioning to be fixed. Excuse me, you'll have to move those ballots in that room. We're going to fix the air conditioning. Oh, where are we going to move them? Well, let's move them out of the place for a little while. We'll move them back next week. Oh, where are they? There were 14 boxes. Now there's 6. What happened to the rest of them? No. One-day voting. You have one-day voting. We used to have one-day voting. By the way, France went back to paper. France had 39 million people. They had voter ID. They had proof of citizenship. That's all. They didn't have mail-in. Mail it. How about California? They mail out about 38 million ballots. 38. It's like you're throwing them off a building. 38 million, and then they get sent back somewhere. Nobody knows where. And then they always announce that the Republicans are about 5 million short, without fail, because I believe that if we had an honest election, if God came down from on high, and God said, I will be the voting tabulator for the day, I believe I would win California because I do great with the Hispanics. I believe I'd win. We need God as our vote counter just one day every 4 years. We won't even go after the two. We won't even talk about for the Congress people that we have sitting all over the place, just for the presidential elections. If we had God, oh, boy, would it be a lot easier and a lot better. The other thing we need is we need an honest and respected press. We don't have that. So I want to thank Elon Musk, and I just thought I'd give you his words of wisdom, but that's what he said. He said paper ballots are the way to go, and it's the only way to go. And it's, you're talking about a fraction of the cost. And you would have the election determined, solidly determined by 9 o'clock or 10, whatever time you want. They put them in boxes, they seal the boxes, they hand the boxes. Every box has so many. I mean, you would have an accurate count by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, or 11 o'clock, whichever hour you chose. And they had that in France. It ended at 10 o'clock. The vote was broadcast. Nobody said, oh, I won or I did. It was, everyone went home. They had a winner and they had a loser. Everybody went home. It's a shame. And we're talking about for a fraction. If you said it costs 10 times more, you should do it. But it costs only about 8% of what they spend for machines that send these results to who knows where. Very, very unfortunate, very unfortunate. You know, last time we got more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country. But we lost, they say. They say we're wrong. We're also endorsed by somebody that loves healthy people. He wants to make our country so healthy. And he's a great guy. Now, he wants to make he also has a big thing on the environment. And I'll tell you what, I say, that's okay, but you can't touch our liquid gold, Robert. Bobby Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., RFK Jr. And he's going to work, and he's very strong on, you know, the pesticides and all of the different things. And you know what? We don't have a very healthy country. When you look at our country compared to other countries, we are not a healthy country. And he says, we're going to make it a healthy country. I say, good, Bobby, but do me one favor. Don't touch the oil and gas. Let me handle that. I'll handle the oil and gas. We're not going to let him get involved. We're not going to let him get involved in the oil and gas. Well, listen. No, we'll watch that. We're going to be very careful with our liquid gold. That's one of the biggest assets we have as a country. We have more liquid gold than anybody, including Saudi Arabia, Russia. Tulsi Gabbard came in, highly respected, a woman of great common sense. And they just gave me the name because I've had great respect, but I didn't know exactly why they had him on. Buzz Aldrin, very respected, the great astronaut, and highly respected. But I thought it was an unusual because we have a lot of people that endorse us, and and you notice the Washington Post and Los Angeles Times and all these papers, they're not endorsing anybody. You know what they're really saying? Because they only endorse Democrats. They're saying, this Democrat's no good. They're no good. And they think I'm doing a great job. They just don't want to say it. Washington, and USA Today, congratulations. I just heard USA Today has not endorsed. They said, we're not going to endorse. That means that they think she's no good. But Buzz Aldrin's very interesting because great astronaut, but he's not the youngest person in this room, but he's a very sound man and great, looks fantastic. What he did is he said, I've never endorsed anybody in my life before, like General Kellogg. I've never endorsed, of course, he started endorsing me approximately about a minute after I announced I was running, but that's because he's a smart general, right? 1 minute. Was it 1 minute or was it 30 seconds? But Buzz Aldrin, for the first time in his life, he said, this is the first time I've ever made an endorsement, never made an endorsement. I'm endorsing Donald J. Trump. Isn't that nice? So thank you, Buzz Aldrin. And I like him too. I've always admired him. Kamala and Joe call them all of those people that I just named and all of the people here. And I think probably more than 200 million people in this country. You know, we really don't know how many we have because those borders have been opened so badly, you don't know. You know, other countries can tell you approximately what they have. I don't think this country does. But let's say you had 350 million people. If she won, you'd have 600 million people. in about 3 years. You'd have open borders, the whole world, every criminal from all over the world. Well, we're going to have that pretty soon anyway, but we're going to deport them out of here fast. But let's say 225 million people. She's essentially, and he's calling them garbage. They're a team, by the way. Oh, she hated that last night when she heard that. Although, honestly, I don't think she's smart enough to know what it really means. What that meant, that makes deplorable look like baby stuff, right? Deplorable with her. Remember Hillary? She said, deplorable and irredeemable. And I said, oh, what a terrible term to use the word irredeemable. I didn't know. Somehow irredeemable. I think it's worse, right? But you know what's worse than anything? Garbage. We're garbage. We're garbage. And I call you the heart and soul of America. You're the people that built America. And together on November 5th, we're going to bring our country back to levels of greatness never seen before. And I'll tell you, look, North Carolina, it has been special. You know, when you just win a place, I love you. I love Alabama. In Alabama, I win by 48 points. Even you haven't caught us on that. Tennessee, we have so many great states that really love us. But you know, the nice thing is when you have a place that you can just rely on, where you can really rely. I love you too. Look at her. She's so beautiful. She's all excited. I love it. I do. And there's Mr. Wall. See that jacket? He's a genius. He's one of the smart people. He makes a lot of money. He's a professional. But he likes these rallies. I think it's like 279 rallies. Can you believe it? He likes Trump. He likes Trump. And I like him. I feel comfortable because it's a wall. We always needed a wall. And one day I'm going to find out where you bought that suit, and I'm going to wear it to one last, because, it's sad. We've done this for 9 years. We had the greatest rallies in the history of the world. Chancellors and prime ministers, people would tell me they watch the rallies from Europe. Everybody watches our rallies. Everybody loves our rallies. We never have an empty seat. They try and demean us like that horrible, horrible person that I debated where she said, and people leave early. Nobody leaves early. If I saw them leaving early, you know what I would say? And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I'd make America great again and I'd leave. Right? That way they could. But I've never had to do that. I'm very capable of doing that, But nobody should say, or people leave early. And then I hit her hard on that. I said, no, we have the greatest rallies in the world. There's never an empty seat, and nobody leaves early. And they said, and the fake news people, like Brit Hume, the fake news people said, oh, he fell into a trap. She's got no trap. She's got no, this is not a trap. When somebody says something, and it's wrong, you like to say, no, that's not, it takes about 5 seconds, and you want to put it on the record that they're wrong. He fell into a trap. The real trap was you had David Muir during the debate. I had the Biden debate, and that didn't work out too well for him. And then we had the other one, and I think I did better, the second one with her. She talked about the grass. What are you going to do about the economy? Well, I grew up in an area where I had a grass yard. Say, I actually think in a certain way Biden was better than her, okay? But you had David Muir, and I said, crime is soaring all over our nation. The migrants are pouring in. And he said, and he stops me. Crime is not soaring. Crime is going down, because he believed the FBI statistics, which were a fraud. And then it came out the following day that crime was, in fact, soaring at levels that nobody had ever seen before. They didn't include certain cities. I won't mention the cities because I have a lot of friends in those cities. But they didn't include certain cities for their statistical review. What a shame. What a shame. We need great FBI. The people in the FBI are so incredible, too. I'll bet you if they took a poll in the FBI, I think I'd be at 97, 98%. I really believe it, I think I'd be. But they have some people that just don't want to do it. Don't want to do their job properly. It's a shame. We have a lot of things we're going to correct in this country. We have to correct them because we need honesty. We just need some basic truth. But David Muir, so this guy David Muir, you know, pretty boy, he goes, touchstone. I don't think he's that good looking anymore. Time does that. Time does that. No, but that's terrible. He interrupted me like, 11 times or something, right? Every time I said something, that's not so. And then he had a woman who I never heard of. Don't know her name, don't want to know her name. She's not very good at what she does either. But when he didn't interrupt me, she did. And if you look, I was right about just about Mr. Congressman. I think just about everything. I was right about just about everything. He said, Trump was right about everything. How about the hat? Trump was right about everything. Trump was right about everything. But we've said, now, but think of it. So that must have been the first one. I followed that storm right in. But I saw the devastation. I actually came back the following week because I didn't want to get in anyone's way. It was a travesty. It was vicious. It was water. The water was the worst we'd ever seen. It was a water hurricane. That's what it was. And it took houses right off the foundations and ripped the foundations, concrete foundations, like they were paper. And I saw areas that were just like gone. And yet you've set an all-time record in early voting. Think of it, the deadline you have set up till the date. Now, here are people, I'm talking about most of you who come from this area. Some people are coming from outside of North Carolina, but in North Carolina, these are people that have been devastated. They've lost their homes. At a minimum, especially in certain areas, they broke records in every single area, and some of the people, they didn't even have a home anymore. They were living in tents. No, but how great, and then those lowlifes call you garbage. No, think of that. Think of how bad it is. They have the nerve to say that. Think of the fact, when we were looking at the numbers in the various states, and we came to North Carolina, and it just was hit by that horrible hurricane, and it just hit the hardest. I mean, others were hit badly too, but you were just wiped out. I said, if we get 30% of the people to vote, and it was pretty much a Trump district, most of the area, I said, wow, that's bad. That's bad for a lot of reasons. Number one was it's bad, and people died. That's by far the most important. But from the standpoint of the voting, I said, if we get 30 or 40%, that's amazing. That'll be amazing. They broke the all-time record. Think of it. Think of it. Now, you're superior people, okay? Not garbage. You're superior people. If anybody would have, nobody. I went to one of the big pollsters. I was talking to him right after we got those numbers, because the numbers are coming in great. We're doing great in North Carolina. That doesn't mean you don't vote. Now you go on Tuesday and you just vote, right? But you got it. He says, we've got you. But when you think, I said to a pollster, I said, what do you think the chances? He said, it's the most incredible thing I've ever seen as a pollster. And I guess some people had to come back, and you couldn't even come back because you had areas of land with no river, and now it's all of a sudden landlocked. It's all waterlocked. I just think it's incredible. I think it's a great tribute to North Carolina, and I'd like to thank you very much. Amazing. It's amazing. You are hardy people. You are hardy people, aren't you? Look, she knows what I'm talking about. She knows what I'm talking about. The deadline for in-person early voting in North Carolina is Saturday, but you can do that, or you just come. You come whenever you want. I'm one that was saying, a lot of people say vote early. That's great. But the main thing is vote. You got to vote. We got to vote. You got to vote. Republicans tend to vote on Election Day, and they like to make sure, I think, that vote goes into a box, somewhere, and then they want to watch where the box goes to. But you got to just vote. And I think we're going to have this is a very important state. We win this state, we're sailing. We're sailing. We win this state, we're sailing. So if you have a ballot, send it in or get everyone you know. Vote, vote, vote. You're going to vote, and we're going to have record numbers. I think you're going to have, we're heading to record numbers in North Carolina despite one of the worst hurricanes anyone's ever seen. And I will say this about my competition. They did a horrible job of rescue and help. One of the worst. And I don't even believe it was because it was largely a Republican area. I think they did it because they're incompetent, okay? They did a horrible job, one of the worst jobs since Katrina, but some people say it was a worse job. Nobody's even showing up. You don't even see. And then you learn that they've spent almost $1 billion and they don't have any money for North Carolina because, or Georgia, or a lot of the other states, Florida, Tennessee, South Carolina. I mean, think of it. Georgia got hit. Georgia got hit so hard. But then you find out, and then you listen, and you find out that they don't have any money. FEMA, because they spent their money. FEMA spent money on bringing illegal aliens into our country. I'll tell you something. First of all, it's going to take a while anyway. They should be there. You know, there's nobody even sees anybody from the federal government. You know who's done a good job? Franklin Graham. He's in here. He's in here. He better do a good job. I gave him $7 million. He better. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. No, we gave him a lot because he does the best. He does a great job, and they have some others that do a great job. But we gave him a lot of money, raised a lot of money for him, and he is always, every time I have, because I've seen a lot of tornadoes and hurricanes and horrible storms, and every time I get there, he's always there with his crew of volunteers. It's pretty amazing, actually. Franklin Graham, he does a great job. He's got good genes. He's got very good genes. My father used to take me to Yankee Stadium to watch Billy Graham fill up Yankee Stadium. He filled it up like it was nothing. And my father liked going to see Billy Graham. With your help, 6 days from now, we're going to defeat Kamala Harris, and we're going to win back that beautiful, beautiful White House. We're going to win it back. Kamala Harris cast the deciding votes that launched the worst inflation in the history of our country. She cost a typical American family over $30,000 in higher prices. They basically spent too much money and screwed up my energy policies. We had gas at $1.84. I thought it was $1.87. Just came out 2 days ago, $1.84. It was lower than it. A lot of people say $2.50. No, not $2.50. It's $1.84 a gallon. How would you like to have $1.84 a gallon now? We'll have it. We're going to have it again. Liquid gold. It was just announced today that economic growth missed expectations again for this quarter. It's always missing. This economy is a disaster, and now Kamala wants to raise the typical family taxes by at least $3,000 a year. If I win, we will rapidly defeat inflation. Oh, we'll have it done so. I'm going to bring your energy down to 1/2 of what it is now. It's going to go, in 1 year, we'll have it down 50%. And that'll bring everything else down, and we're going to bring the interest rates down, and we're going to make America affordable again. We will make America affordable again. Because we have this huge spike that took place over 3 years, massive spike. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And none of that's come down. Bacon hasn't come down. Apples haven't come down. Lettuce, nothing's come down. People so often, they talk about groceries. They haven't come down. I will massively cut taxes for workers and small businesses. And we will have a very special kind of a thing happen. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our seniors. None. Thank you. No, if you think our seniors, you know, they have a very fixed income, most of them. You know, I'm a senior too. Somebody would say, oh, he's doing that, he has a conflict of interest. These fakers back here, they'll say, here's a conflict of interest, he's a senior. He's given himself a big tax break. No, we're not gonna let that happen. But the seniors, a lot of seniors have a fixed income, and their Social Security. I mean, it's what's happened to all of the other things, and this will get you back to even, pretty much even, I think, by doing it. And I will support a tax credit for family caregivers who take care of their parent or loved ones. And I said this almost a week ago, and guess what? Last night, Kamala said the same thing. She copied my no tax on tips, but you know what? She's not going to do it. She only said it a couple of times. She said it without, because she got killed when she said that. But now, last night, I don't know if you noticed, last night she copied she copied the caregiver statement. And let me tell you, these people that take care of their family and other people, these are incredible people, and they're entitled to it. They're entitled to it. They're going to get it. Starting on day one, she copied me last night. Of my new administration, I will bring back energy independence like we had it. We were energy independent 4 years ago. Now we get our oil from Venezuela. It's called Venezuelan tar. You know, it comes like in tar, and you got to heat the hell out of it. And there's only one plant in the whole world that can do it, and that's located in Houston. So for the environmentalists, go take a look at those chimneys in Houston. It's not a pretty sight. I will bring back energy independence, and we will drill, baby, drill, and we're going to start right from the beginning. And to get back our millions of jobs that have been lost, we will give our companies the lowest taxes, the lowest energy costs, the lowest regulatory burdens, and free access to the best and biggest market on the planet. That's us. But we're not going to have that good market anymore if we don't stop it right now, because we're losing it. But only for those companies that make their product here in the USA and hire American workers for the job. And if these companies don't make their products here, then they will be paying a stiff tariff when they send their products into the United States for the privilege of competing with our workers and our now protected companies. They're gonna pay a stiff price. They're gonna pay a stiff price. So we're gonna protect. We have to protect, because they take our companies, they move them into Mexico, and it's pretty incredible. And you heard that I knocked out the biggest auto plant anywhere in the world. I just knocked it out. I did it without even being president. I told them they were building in Mexico, China, the largest auto plant anywhere in the world, and they were going to send those cars into us, and they were going to destroy Detroit. They were going to destroy Michigan and a little bit of South Carolina, where they have sort of a different system. They were going to destroy our auto manufacturing. The little that we have left, we probably have 40% compared to what we had years ago. And they were going to destroy, they were going to build the biggest auto plant in the world, and I heard about it through a man that was building the plant, the best in the world. He builds all the plants. I said, I want to see a plant. He said, you'll have to go to Mexico. I said, I don't want to go. I want to see one here. He said, we don't really build them here anymore. We build them in other places, but we build a lot. And Mexico is a real threat. Don't kid yourself. What they're doing in Mexico. And so I said, I don't want to go to Mexico. What are they doing over there? They're building some of the biggest plants in the world, one in particular. I said, wow, that's no good. I thought about it. Then I spoke before the Economic Forum in Detroit, very nice group of people. And I said, you guys are losing your shirts, and Detroit is, you know, making a comeback for 40 years. It's time now. We got to bring some companies back here. And I didn't like what I heard, because when they make millions of cars out of something where you literally press a button and it makes cars, when that happens, that's no good for us, because they're going to just flood the market and destroy everything that we have in Michigan and Detroit. And some, where you have it, some, you do big parts business, very big parts business here. So they're going to destroy you. So I announced that I'm going to put a 100% tariff on that plant. And I saw the man about 2 weeks ago. He was in the audience, the man that builds the plants. And I said, John, could I talk to you for a second? I pull him aside. How's that big plant coming in Mexico? Sir, they've decided not to build. They think you're going to become president and they'll lose their shirt. They're not building the plant. They're not building it, huh? Look at Emmer. Emmer likes that. Now, can you imagine that? They're not building the plant. They're not going to build the plant. And that's the way it's going to be. It's going to be real simple. And you know what? If they built the plant in this country, I'm okay with it. They can build it. They don't have any tariff to pay. They have no tariff to pay. It's very simple. And you know, some of the deals made with these politicians, they were either really stupid or crooked as hell. Because this could have been done. And I've done it. You know, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. Hundreds of billions of dollars. They've never paid anything. They never gave one president 10 cents. I took hundreds of billions, and from other countries, and we were just getting started. Anyway, we'll also pass what's known as the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. That means if China or any other country charges us 100 or 200% tariff or tax, then we will charge them 100 or 200% tariff or tax in return. It's an eye for an eye. And I will never apologize for defending America. I will protect our workers. I will protect our jobs. I will protect our borders. I will protect our families. And I will protect the birthright of our children to live in the richest and most powerful nation on the face of the earth. And as we rescue our economy, I will also restore our borders. Over the past 4 years, you see what's been happening. It's carnage. It's carnage. It's a carnage. Kamala has orchestrated the most egregious betrayal that any leader in American history has ever inflicted on our people. What she's done. She's violated her oath and eradicated our sovereign border and unleashed an army of migrant gangs who are waging a campaign of violence and terror against the citizens of the United States of America. Kamala has imported criminal migrants from prisons and jails, from insane asylums and mental institutions, the most dangerous anywhere in the world, and from all around the world. From Venezuela to Congo, the Congo in Africa, they're sending us large numbers of prisoners from the Congo in Africa. Congratulations. Welcome to the United States. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from all over. They're coming from Europe. They're coming from Asia. And a lot are coming from South America, but not all. They're coming from all over the world. They're emptying their prisons into the United States. They're emptying their mental institutions into the United States. They're going to be empty very soon. And you know what's happened to their crime rates in places like Venezuela? Whoa, way down. They've taken their street gangs and they brought them into the United States and they said, if you ever come back, you will die. We're going to kill you. That's what they tell them. So these are including savage criminals who assault, rape, and murder our women, our girls. What they do to our families is outrageous. And my people told me, please, please don't say you're going to protect women. Women don't want you to say that. I said, really? Why? This is my geniuses. These are the people we pay all this money to give you political advice. I said, why? Women don't want to be protected, sir. I said, really? I don't think so. They want to be attacked by MS-13. Is that what they want? They want MS-13 to go in and knock their door down and do bad things? No, I don't think so. I think women, I'm going to protect the women, I'm going to protect the children, and I'm going to protect the men. I'm going to protect everybody. From these animals that have been unleashed into our country and from foreign powers. Look, I mean, is there any woman in the audience, please, that does not seek protection? Please raise your hand. Is there any woman in the audience that wants to be protected? I think so. Okay, let's fire those people, please. They're all fired. They meant well. Anyone who would let monsters kidnap and kill our children does not belong anywhere near the Oval Office, and she has set a record. And today I want you to hear something that's very disturbing. Everybody, I just came out, just was done. Everybody that's heard it, I've seen tough people, very tough men, literally crying, watching it. We just put it out just now. But I want you to hear it directly from a mother whose world has been shattered by the open borders insanity of Kamala Harris. Please.
Sunday night, I asked her to not stay up super late because of her coming to work with me in the morning to do her summer school. She said, okay. I told her good night and I love you. I went to bed, not realizing that that was going to be the last time I saw her.
We're best friends. Yeah.
We're going to shake it again.
I woke up to notice she wasn't in her bed. I'm in my heart trying not to lose my mind because I don't know where she is. I finally remembered her phone had a location on, and her phone was pinging just 2 minutes down the road, right behind the skate park. I start driving to the direction the phone was being pinged at, and I see a couple cop cars with lights on. I see yellow tape, and immediately my heart drops and sinks to the bottom of my stomach. My daughter's hands and ankles were both bound. She was strangled to death, left with no pants. And I know in my heart, she fought incredibly hard. She was not going down without a fight.
We begin with two men we're learning are charged with capital murder tonight, accused of killing a 12-year-old girl.
Police say these men strangled her before dumping her into that creek. Both men were in the country illegally.
Apprehended, then released by Border Patrol less than 3 weeks before Jocelyn's death. The men accused of killing Jocelyn Nungare are affiliated with the gang known for brutal violence.
Kamala Harris was in charge of immigration and our borders. If we had better border policies and not open borders and not these catch and release policies, I truly believe this all could have been prevented. Under her being vice president of this country, my daughter's life was ripped away from her. She had her entire life ahead of her.
Happy birthday, dear Jocelyn.
My daughter is 6 feet in the ground based off of policies that she allowed to keep. Kamala Harris did have one job, and she not only failed, not me, she failed my daughter. She failed Jocelyn. You know, she was only 12. President Trump reached out, gave me his sincerest condolences as not a former president, but just as a father, someone who cares. I believe Donald Trump needs to be back in office. I can at least know that my next child will be safe in this country.
There's just no reason for it. Thank you very much. No reason. There's no reason for that. Thank you very much. But there's no reason for that. Open borders, open borders. Anybody comes in, doesn't matter where you come from. They don't even know where they come from. They don't check them. They don't know where they come. Are they from jails? They don't know anything about them. They just let them pour into our country. It's incredible. Now she's sort of stopped it by doing just a little bit because she was getting killed in the polls. And if they ever won, they would open those borders and you would have millions and millions more people come in, and there'd be criminals. If I ran one of the countries that we're talking about, and over the last few months, it was 181 different countries. Most people don't even know there are that many. There are actually more. 181 countries were represented, and they're letting their criminals and their jails and everything into our country. They're destroying our country. They're destroying our country. And we can't take it any longer. We have to change. We have to change immediately. I think it's the biggest problem. I think it's bigger than the economy. I think it's bigger than inflation, because they're ruining the fabric of our country. You're not going to be able to walk out of your house no matter where you live. If you're in a farm, they're flying people in with the big Boeing jets, the biggest ones, and they're taking hundreds of them in. They're landing in the Midwest and all over the place. They're flying them right over the border. They're sick. The day I take the oath of office, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins. The savages charged with brutalizing and murdering precious Jocelyn are members of the same vicious Venezuelan prison gang, Tren de Aragua, that's taking over apartment complexes and unleashing a violent killing spree all over America. You've read about them in Colorado, Aurora, Colorado. They've taken over complexes. They've taken them away from landlords. They've told people to get out. They've told the people, you pay us the rent from now on. You don't pay it to a landlord. You don't pay it to a property owner. You pay it to us. They've even taken over Times Square. Take a look.
Open borders, deadly consequences.
Border crisis. Record high crossings are putting a strain on cities across America.
It is a full-blown invasion.
Armed Venezuelan gang members storming an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado.
When people talk about migrant crime, this is what they're talking about.
San Antonio, Texas, just one of the latest cities to have apartment complexes taken over by members of the Venezuelan gang.
Biden and Harris had created a program to bring them in under humanitarian parole.
I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals.
More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been released into the United States.
My 20-year-old daughter, Kayla Hamilton, was murdered in her own room. Kayla's murderer was apprehended by Border Patrol crossing illegally into the U.S.
Kayla's murderer had been improperly released into the United States.
Abolish ICE.
Yeah, we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
More than a dozen people suspected of being Tren de Aragua gang members right here in San Antonio.
The gang members had been terrorizing the apartment complex.
New details in the murder of Laken Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national.
And was paroled and released into the country by the Biden administration.
If they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened.
2 men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder and the death of Jocelyn Nungaray.
Martinez and Angel wrapped his arms around Jocelyn's neck, took off her pants, and climbed on top of her. Later strangled Jocelyn to death and then tied up her hands and feet.
Court documents suggest a group of men arrested for beating and robbing a Dallas woman last month are members of a Venezuelan street gang.
The men threatened to cut off her fingers if she did not cooperate. Manuel Hernandez was booked by Colleyville police just 2 days earlier and released the day before the robbery.
A Peruvian gang leader who is wanted for 23 murders. He was arrested by Border Patrol near Roma, Texas, then released into America.
This is what we have coming into our country. The United States is now an occupied country, but it will soon be an occupied country no longer. We will not let this happen. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. It'll be Liberation Day. On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. I will rescue every city and town that's been invaded and conquered, and we will put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them the hell out of our country. And to expedite removals of Tren de Aragua and MS-13 and all of these gangs that are now living happily in our country, I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Can you believe that? To target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. And if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole. And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement official. And I will immediately ban all sanctuary cities in the United States of America. With their open borders, they're going to destroy your Social Security and Medicare. They're going to destroy our health care. But I'm going to save it all, and I'm going to save our country. That's what we're going to do. These people are all signing up. Kamala's gross incompetence, she's a grossly incompetent person, disqualifies her from being president of the United States. Everyone knows it. No one respects her. No one trusts her. No one takes her seriously. To make her president would be to gamble with the lives of millions and millions of people. She would get us into World War III because she is too grossly incompetent to do the job, and then all of your sons and daughters will end up getting draft notice as they'll come, Mommy, Daddy, what does this mean? Son, even daughter, that means that you're going to be drafted to fight in a war against a country that you've never heard of. Congratulations, son, and it may be the last time you ever see them. We're not going to let that happen anymore in this country. Our enemies are laughing at her. If we win, America will be feared and respected again on issue after issue. Kamala broke it, and I will fix it, and I'll fix it quickly. On top of it all, Kamala says she would not do one thing differently from Joe Biden, which in itself is disqualifying. Take a look.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
I stood there on the tarmac watching you check your watch.
The chaotic and deadly U.S. evacuation from Afghanistan stunned Americans and the world and cost the lives of 13 U.S. soldiers.
Would you have done something differently?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been caught at the border and then released into the United States.
An Afghan national is in custody today after being accused of plotting an election day terrorist attack. The suspect entered the U.S. on a special immigrant visa.
Gut-wrenching new details in the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national who crossed the unsecured southern border back in 2022.
2 men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder in the death of Jocelyn Nungaray.
A fifth illegal immigrant accused of attacking 2 New York City police officers over the weekend showed no remorse or regret. Would you have done something differently?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Only 18% say the economy is in excellent or good condition.
US inflation has hit a new 40-year high, increasing by 9.1% over the financial year.
Authorities saying Train de Aragua, which has been linked with more than 100 criminal investigations here in the U.S., has now been found operating its criminal enterprise in apartment complexes.
Were you the last person in the room? Yes.
There is not a thing that comes to mind. So maybe the worst thing that we can be talking about, 325,000 children that the press never talks about. 325,000 children have come into our country and they're now missing. They're going to be dead, or they're going to be sex slaves or slaves of some kind. 325,000 children, many of them are dead. And she said there's not a thing that comes to mind. You know, they just like she's a fraud. She's a total fraud. She's a liar. She even lied about McDonald's, didn't she, huh? But she's a total liar. They lied about 818,000 jobs that they said we built up over the course of their wonderful management. It turned out to be a total fraud. And they weren't going to announce that until after the election, but we had a whistleblower that called them in. You remember that just a few months ago, they said 18,000 jobs were created, and they weren't. They're fake jobs. And they were going to release the correct information. They were going to do a little deletion, and they were going to release it right after the election, but they got caught. We can't let ourselves be duped by these people. These are criminal people as far as I'm concerned. We're thrilled to be joined by representatives, and they're great warriors, and they're friends of mine, and they fight side by side. Congressman Richard Hudson. Richard, thank you very much. Great job he's doing. One of the most powerful people in Washington, a great congressman, Tom Emmer. Tom, thank you. Thank you, Tom. And another great friend is Byron Donalds. He's fantastic. Fantastic. And you have a congressional candidate that I know is going to win. She's up in the polls. She's doing great. Lori Buckout. She's fantastic. And she's got my complete and total endorsement. And somebody that is a star, well, I'll let you know that on the 6th. Is that okay? But I think he's a star. North Carolina GOP Chair Jason Simmons. Jason, thank you. Great. So I also want to say hello to Keith Kellogg, General Kellogg. He's one of our really great generals. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Keith. Been with me right from the beginning, right? From day one. And my son-in-law, Michael. Michael is a fantastic young guy. I have to introduce him. Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much. Thank you, Michael. I also want to send our prayers to everyone in North Carolina and other states still recovering from the hurricanes. If I win, we will get them and we will support you. You know, on January 20th, it's not too far away anymore. January 20th is when you take office. We'll have people here so much you will say, please, we got too many people. Get them out of here. We have too many people. We had great success with FEMA. And if you know, it would be amazing. It's been acknowledged that the hurricane rescue effort and rebuilding effort is the worst that we've just about ever seen, outside of maybe Katrina, but I think it's worse. There's nobody even here, and the devastation is incredible. And how the hell could you vote for somebody that's in charge of it, right? So I don't think you're going to vote for Kamala. Here are the facts. Kamala is a radical left Marxist, rated even worse than crazy Bernie Sanders or Pocahontas herself. She destroyed our economy. She was an original creator of defund the police movement, and anybody who wants to defund the police for even 1 week or 1 day is not worthy of being president of the United States. Kamala vowed to abolish ICE, our great heroes of ICE. As California Attorney General, she redefined child sex trafficking, assault with a deadly weapon, and rape of an unconscious person as totally nonviolent crimes. She pledged to confiscate your guns and endorsed a total ban on handgun ownership. Would anybody in North Carolina want to give up your guns quietly? Oh. Oh, it could have had an impact on my hearing for the rest of my life. That's not going to be an easy job, is it? No, but that's where she comes from. She even called for free sex changes for illegal aliens in detention at taxpayer expense. So in conclusion, with your vote this November, we are going to fire Kamala and we're going to save America. Gonna get her out. Gonna get her out. Right? Come in. We're gonna get her out. We will cut your taxes, end inflation, slash your prices, raise your wages, and bring thousands of factories back to America and back to North Carolina where they belong. And I have a little personal favor that I'm going to do, North Carolina. I'm going to get your furniture builders and artists and manufacturers. We're going to bring them back. They left you for China. They're going to be coming back because this is where they want to be. I came down here so many times. I'd build a hotel. I said, I want to go to North Carolina. I came so much. I'd say, no, I like the arm to be a little bit on that chair, a little bing, 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 bing. These guys were so good. And now you have just a fraction of what you had. You're the best in the world. I'd buy from China, and then they'd sit in a chair, then the chair would collapse, and I'd get sued. This is true. They'd sue me because the damn chair would break at a hotel. Mr. Jones would sit down. He's slightly overweight, like about 200 pounds. He'd sit in that chair, and the thing collapses. The next thing I know, sir, you've been sued by Mr. Jones of someplace. No, you built the greatest furniture in the world, and you're going to be doing it again. You're doing it a little bit, but you're going to be doing it again. We will build American, we will buy American, and we will hire American. I will end the war in Ukraine. It would have never started if I were president. I will stop the chaos in the Middle East, and I will prevent World War III from happening. I will crush violent crime and give our police the support, protection, resources, and respect that they so dearly deserve. We're going to take care of our police. We will strengthen and modernize our military. I rebuilt our military, and they gave a lot of it away to a place called Afghanistan in the most embarrassing moment of our country's life. We will build a missile defense shield massively. We are going to build the greatest, the biggest missile defense shield. A lot of it's going to be made right in the USA. It's all going to be made in the USA. It's going to be made right here, though, a lot of it. We will rebuild our cities, including our capital in Washington, D.C., which is horribly run, which is filthy dirty, with graffiti all over columns and lions and everything else. And we're going to take care of our capital. We're going to make it beautiful and safe. We're not going to have people being killed there, but we're going to make our cities beautiful, clean, safe again. We will teach our children to love our country, to honor our history, and to always respect our great American flag. And we will get critical race theory and transgender insanity out of our schools. And we will keep men out of women's sports, if that's okay. I will defend religious liberty. I will restore free speech. And I will defend the right to keep and bear arms, your Second Amendment. And I have everybody's endorsement, including the NRA, and always have had it. And it is under siege. Your Second Amendment is under siege. After years of building up foreign nations, defending foreign borders, and protecting foreign lands, we are finally going to build up our country, defend our borders, and protect our citizens. And we will stop illegal immigration once and for all. We will not be invaded. We will not be occupied. We will not be overrun. We will not be conquered. We will not be conquered. They are conquering us. They are conquering us from within. We will be a free and proud nation once again. Everyone will prosper. Every family will thrive. And every day will be filled with opportunity and hope, and will be filled also with a thing called the American dream, something you don't hear about so much anymore. But for that to happen, we must defeat Kamala Harris and stop her radical left agenda with a landslide that is too big to rig. You need to get out and vote. That's all you don't have to give me money. You don't have to give me anything. Just go out and vote. Who has voted so far? Oh. Who is going to vote? Okay, get out. Every vote. Thank you very much. That's very impressive. For the past 9 years, we have been fighting against the most sinister and corrupt forces on earth. With your vote this election, you can show them once and for all that this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. Belongs to you guys. It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country. And 6 days from now, it is hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help from now until Election Day, 6 days, we will restore America's promise, and we will take back the nation that we all love. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will never give in. We will never give up. We will never back down, and we will never, ever surrender. Together we will fight, 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 and win, win, win. November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country, and together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, North Carolina. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Wow. Well, thank you very much, North Carolina. You are a special group of people. In fact, my beautiful little grandchild